we're going to have 1 or 2 people still join us down the line. Thanks everyone for making the time to this lunch and learn. Before we get started, this is a lunch and learn. So if any of you actually wants to eat while we have this call, please do so. We didn't do this at 12, but if you want to use this as your lunch break, please do. I am very excited to have all of you in this call. We're going to talk today about retail media, a giant and growing and evolving space. And we are more than lucky to have Alex on this call, who's an expert in the field, who will be the star of the show. So I'm going to try to talk to you as quickly as possible before that. What we'll do today is I'm going to do a quick introduction on why are we here in the first place. I know many of you know us, so this is not going to be an Expeerly pitch, but more a question of why are we doing these events. Then we have Alex and Alex's presentation, and then we'll conclude with a fireside chat, but really also with a discussion. So feel free to, this entire thing lives of your participation, so please do that. One thing here, this meeting is being recorded. So if there is anything you don't want to have said on record, then either don't say it or message me afterwards so I can cut it out. All right. Why are we here? A quick question on why would we care about retail media? We care about retail media for the following reasons. We are in e-commerce, and as all of you know, as customers in e-commerce, because all of you have bought things recently, is e-commerce has gotten very confusing. There's lots of options. You might or might not trust. Thanks, Dominic, for the introduction on the AI part, which is part of this. And there's also very little time. I don't know who of you really enjoys buying things online. I don't really do that anymore. So e-com has gotten very confusing, very overwhelming for customers. And in many ways, retail media and most retail media options that are out there today, they guide customers to certain products, right? They basically say, okay, hey, here's your attention span, which is getting shorter and shorter. Why don't you look at this thing, right? So it basically guides these eyeballs to something. And we as Expeerly, as many of you know, basically sit a bit at the end of that funnel. So we really make sure that once the eyeballs are on said product that you care about, that these shoppers then also make sure that they choose your product. In a way, we solve the same issue. I'm just going to go back here. There's too many options, too little trust, too little time is relevant for the high funnel and the highest funnel for customers, but also for the lowest funnel. And that's kind of where we come in. Once these eyeballs are there and people do come onto the PDP, we ensure that there's social proof on the PDP. We ensure there's something in video format. So even if the attention span isn't very long, you can watch a quick video about the product and ensure that customers then in this confusing e-commerce world are guided and understand these products. Both PDP, but then also with these examples on Google and obviously also on Geo. So in a way, we do consider Expeerly as part of the retail media universe. We are not sold through your retailer though, but we do consider us as part of the retail media universe. We also help solve the confusion on e-commerce. However, we do consider ourselves lower funnel and external. So part of the reason why we wanted to do this today is because that is why we really care about the retail media universe, and we know that you care about it. But the other reason is that we just really like bringing people together. I have been in this e-commerce world now for 3 years, and I think what we've learned is many of you don't actually know each other. There's some areas of exchange, but not too many, and we'd love to be a bit the middle ground and make sure that everyone meets and actually gets to know each other. And in that sense, I would also like to start with a quick who are you? We've done events before. This can completely overboard into a half an hour. Everyone makes a very long introduction. So we keep this as short as possible, but please do quickly say your name, maybe say what company you're with. And if not everyone recognizes your company, maybe you can quickly say what kind of products or what industry you're in. I'm going to look at the list and I'm going to call your name so that you can do the introduction. Alex, I'm going to jump you, but we're going to start with Bren or Brenda.
Hello, my name is Brenda. So yeah, I'm the retail media manager. So yeah, seeking for this learning session to learn from the expert.
Brenda. We miss Brenda. We're going to go on. Emanuela.
Hi, this is Emanuela, and actually I am an independent consultant, and I'm just tapping in to learn more about the topic. And Leah, I have been following you in the media for a very long time, so I'm very happy to be in the meeting and listening to what you're doing as well.
Great. Hi, Emanuela. Then we'll go on to Kira.
Hello, my name is Kira. I'm working for ASA in Germany, and I'm specialized in the performance marketing, and I'm also responsible for Switzerland and Austria.
And one of our favorite clients. Thanks, Kira, for being here. And then we go on to Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark. Nice to meet all of you. I work at Goldbach in business development. So usually what we do is more like the classical online business. But since the retail media market is a fast-growing market and has a lot of opportunities, we are looking into this market as well and want to participate. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for being here, Mike. We go on to Nicole.
Hello, I call myself Felicia. I'm working for MediaMarkt, and hello to Mark. Nice to see you here. I'm working in the retail media and partner marketing department.
Perfect. Thank you, Felicia. I'm going to jump the Expeerly team and we go on to Robert.
Hi, I'm Robert, as you already said, and I'm working for the Smartwares Group. I'm an account manager for the e-commerce in Germany. I'm also based in Germany, and I'm responsible for the B2B and B2C markets.
Lovely. Thanks for being the first one in the call today, Robert. We appreciate that. Then we go to our non-AI test counter, Dominic.
Thank you so much. I'm Dominic. I work as a key account manager for Liebe Home Appliance in Germany, and I'm also responsible for the retail media management with the big online clients.
Great, thank you. Ulrike.
I'm Ulrike. I come from the brand IC Box. I'm the country manager for Switzerland and Austria. And since we are at MediaMarkt offline for many years, but now we also have to improve the e-commerce channel much more, or the e-tailers. That's why I'm looking forward to you, Alexandre.
Lovely, thank you. And then we have Valeria.
Hallo zusammen, ich bin Valeria, genau. Ich arbeite bei Sony in Channel Marketing, bin zuständig für digitale Kommunikation mit unserem Partner zusammen.
Thank you, Valeria. All right, perfect. Thank you so much for the introduction. I spoke for 10 minutes without introducing myself. I will do so now. I'm Leah. I am the CEO and founder of Expeerly. I love everything that is around e-commerce and again, also community building. So this is, I love events like this. Thank you so much for showing up. And then I'm joined today by Philip. Philip is our head of sales Europe. Philip, maybe you can quickly say hi as well so everyone can see your face.
Yes, hi, nice to meet you. Most of the people in the call I know already. And for those who don't know me, I will chase you afterwards. No, just kidding. No, I'm, since here at Expeerly since 12 months, even a little bit more, and supporting all in the regards of go-to-market and sales for Expeerly.
So the next time we need to start with a DJ atmosphere from you for the next call.
It wasn't on topic, but we did start our last event with a picture of Philip DJing. So you missed that one. But at this point, I can highly recommend our in-person event in September in Zurich, for which I am still trying to book Philip as our DJ. But I'll get back to that event afterwards. And then there's also Noah in the call. Noah, I'm sorry, you said too late that you're going to join, so didn't make it on the slide, but Noah is also with us and in the call. And after all that introduction, we come to the main star of the event. And Alex, I'm going to hand over to you. But before I do that, I just want to say that we have been talking to Alex and working with Alex for a while to see whether Expeerly would fit into the Panasonic universe, his former employer. And we have been really impressed by Alex's knowledge and kind of breadth of knowledge on the industry, and especially in the retail media world. So we are thrilled that Alex decided to join us here on this call today and give us all an introduction into retail media. Thank you so much, Alex. And with that, you may say hi and share your slides.
Of course. Thank you so much. That's very kind words from your side. I hope you all can hear me well. Thanks, by the way, as well from my side for joining. So let me just start by first sharing my screen, and then we'll get straight into it. All right, I hope you guys can all see the presentation. So today we're going to talk about Europe Retail Media Landscape 2026, especially what brands can do differently in terms of integrating retail media into their structure and how to turn usually fragmented setups into scalable growth. Before we go into that, just also a quick introduction from my side. My name is Alexandre. Alex is also fine for short. And for the past 8+ years, I've been building and scaling digital commerce and retail media for Panasonic Europe across 28 markets. Also transforming what was back then a fragmented local setup into a centralized, efficient, and scalable ecosystem. Okay. Also, before we move forward, I see sometimes a little bit of hesitation on retail media and what does it define as. So just a quick definition for everyone in terms of the way I see it, which is the digital ability for a brand to advertise its products within a retailer's own ecosystem. And when I talk about advertise, it's not just ads, but also content and promotion. Okay. So having that out of the way, I guess we can get started. And where do we actually start? Where we start from the very end, because that's what retail used to represent in the customer journey. It used to be where shoppers come when they've already made that decision, sometimes even on the exact model and brand. And now it's completely shifted. Now it's the actual start. And it's the start in the way where they come to retail, especially online retail, to discover, compare, and decide. I want to make a quick point here, which is I think natural brand equity is still playing a relevant role, of course, and that's the pre-work you should do before your shoppers come into the online retailers. But the reality is, and especially on Amazon, for the biggest player of them all, that 80% of all searches are unbranded, are generic. Okay, so there's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of, untargeted shoppers coming to the online retailers. So then these platforms, especially like Amazon, are, as they are the start of the shopper journey, are becoming into search engines and media platforms. And the direction is very clear across all of Europe. Around 2/3 of, let's say, consumers in Europe start their journey in the marketplaces. And if you look even at some specific markets like Germany, the number is even higher. Okay, so there is something that is though disrupting a bit this trend, and that is something that I think we're all very much aware of, which is AI. And AI is disrupting this in a way that already 37% of shoppers, and this is as of data of actually this year, start of this year, are already starting the product search with AI. And if you look back at the reality of what is the traditional search, it's very fatiguing. You have to do a lot of clicks, check a lot of products. There's a lot of ads everywhere. And sometimes even from the brand's content, it's difficult to get the right answer for the product that you're looking for. Okay, so AI is disrupting. People are trusting what the AI is recommending. 80% of shoppers feel confident about it. And actually, there's a strong conversion power. For example, Rufus, that is the native AI from Amazon, is 60% more likely to convert shoppers in a purchase than those that don't use Rufus during their shopper journey. Okay, so the key takeaway here is that retail is now a full funnel environment, and there's a big shift also happening now because of AI. Okay, so now we go into what's the reality of Europe, and unfortunately, we're not like the US. We have a very, very fragmented retail. So in the US, you only have pretty much 3 retailers, Target, Walmart, and Amazon, and your job is done. So it's very easy, straightforward. In Europe, and for those that are having a broader scope, either more than one country or the whole Europe know about this. And the reality is that we have a lot of fragmentation, a lot of players in the game. So, and even in the same country, there's different levels of maturity from the same retailer. When we come specifically into the Swiss market, because I know we have a bit of a Swiss audience here, Switzerland is still at a very early stage in terms of retail media, but there is some advancements, I think, especially some of the strongest local players like Galaxus and BRAC, and especially even Galactus, which already has, I think, for quite a while, their own dedicated search engine advertising with sponsored product and sponsored brands. So I do see overall a rapid evolution ahead, also for the Swiss market. Some of the Chinese are also now coming into this space, which will put even more pressure for retailers to pick up and to get up to speed, especially more towards where the, let's say, where the level of Amazon is at, which I think, as we all know, is the leading pure player in Europe and also in other regions. But yeah, the reality is that, there's a very big disparity between what is Europe and the US, and is very fragmented in this space. Now, in terms of the media businesses part, this is a really critical one. And retailers used to be focused before on what is shelf space, the promotions, and the trade marketing when working with brands. But that has completely shifted at this point, where what they really care about and what they're really focused on is making sure they have a strong audience that is loyal to the retailer, and where they can garner a lot of first-party data, audience targeting, and enable digital advertising for brands, which in turn generate extreme high margin revenue for these retailers, okay? And this is really critical, and it's really what makes us also brands want to invest into these marketplaces and ads, because we want a part of the piece of the pie, right? That these retailers hold, especially, again, and sorry, I'm going to reference Amazon a lot because that's a lot of my background as well. But this is a really, really strong, high margin revenue stream for retailers, okay? Now, the point as well into what was said before of retailers becoming media investments is that they are making it in such a way that it's no longer an option to not invest in these retail marketplaces for three main reasons. The first one is that retailers are prioritizing. When you have deals or even events that you're planning with the retailers, they are most of the times actually demanding that you invest in ads behind that, okay? The second point is visibility. I think in terms of the positioning of the ads and how critical of a role they play in the clicks received, this is very obvious that, ads are taking the most attention from the shoppers on the marketplaces. So it is inevitable, and the visibility of your products and the clicks that you receive depend on it. And the final point is really that organic is no longer enough, Even if you have a large, passionate, and loyal audience like Apple or some of the other brands out there, over time, the attention will drift to the places where attention is focusing on, which is the sponsored ones. And of course, across the whole digital ecosystem and the placements of banner ads and display ads. So you have to invest. It's not an option anymore, okay? So key takeaway is, if you're not investing, you're really invisible. Now, I want to go into a bit of a sideline into what is retail media, and you'll understand why. So I think that when retailers have so much data, like is the case of Amazon, they learn a lot and they make smart decisions because they know what products you sell, how much you sell. They also know more or less what margins you play with. And this can lead to very interesting decisions that help boost their margins. And I'll give you an example of that from Amazon, which is something that brands especially need to keep an eye on. So before, the supply chain usually looked like this. You have the brand that manufactures, then some third parties in between that distribute and deliver to the stores. And then there's the responsibility of the online stores like Amazon to sell to the customers. But the reality is that players like Amazon are starting to dominate the whole supply chain. And I'm talking about, for example, Amazon Basics, the Amazon Basics batteries and so on. So what used to be before, a very brand-dominated field where Amazon was just really selling the product and making sure it went to the right customer, Amazon is now actually taking and competing with your business directly. So this is causing a lot of attrition, and actually even causing some conflict of interest that we could go on to for a while, because Amazon actually owns the platform, so they can prioritize your, let's say, their Amazon battery to your Duracell or Eneloop Panasonic battery. And so this is a big rabbit hole, as I said, that we could go down into. But the main takeaway here is how can brands combat this? And I'm going just slightly off of the retail media topic, which is into direct-to-consumer. I think brands should also definitely prioritize direct-to-consumer. This is extremely important to really make sure that you are getting also stronger insights and stronger customer data, which you can also then utilize as first-party data to then bring onto some of the marketplaces like also Amazon to really drive better media efficiency. Like you can create media lookalike audiences, you can target your own customers on D2C on Amazon. So it is really vital that you do that. Okay, and the reality and the key takeaway of this is whoever is closest to the customer always wins. So you need to make sure that you also have first-party data and that you don't let the marketplaces just take it all away. Okay. Okay, moving on. So this is now coming into the point of when is retail media for brands really trailing behind and really lagging. And I think this really happens mostly when there is a lack of internal commitment from the brand. And I mean this in a way that retail media sits across multiple teams. There's really no clear function that owns the retail media agenda end to end. There's a lot of local versus central misalignments, as probably some of you have also seen that. And when it sits in so many different teams, there's a lot of different KPIs because marketing wants some different KPIs than sales or product wants, So, and then this literally and usually ends in, let's say, slow and usually short-term driven decisions. Okay, and this is by far where most brands struggle in terms of making the leap into a clear ownership role for retail media. And when that commitment and structure is missing, I mean, the consequences are also sometimes quite clear. We have inefficient media spend. It stems from different levels of expertise also across markets. Some of them don't even know what to optimize for. They just think ROAS is the Goldilocks of retail and advertising. And two, you also have a lot of inconsistent execution. This mostly happens on content due to natural market differences and capacity and knowledge. And even sometimes within the same market across retailers, you have a fragmented customer experience, again, in the same country, in different retailers. Sometimes there's variances of how the brand content look like. And we don't even speak about like across different markets. Next point is, of course, the operational effort. So without efficient processes or a structure behind, every action is mostly done manually. So this really strains teams over time in terms of the workload. Then lost learnings between markets. Again, here there's not real clear, structured, centralized system that allows markets to learn from each other. So all the learnings and best practices that Germany may have and that Italy may have and that could be shared to improve both countries are lost. And then finally, no scalable strategy. And the reality here, and this is really what happens when you don't have a structure in place, is every single launch that you do on the retailer, every content piece you create, every campaign is mostly repeated from scratch because you don't have a structure, so you're just doing the same thing every time over and over again, which just leads to a lot of workload and a lot of hours spent on what is not very strong value-added effort to the business. It's just really kind of a very manual work. Okay, so now I have told you guys about, when does retail really lag behind and the consequences of that. And now you may ask yourself, okay, but how can you tell us now? So what should we do differently? Like, what is a good operational structure should look like? Okay, and I've divided this in two parts. Okay, and this slide, but especially the next, is where I think there is the most value, and I want to spend a little bit more time on them, especially the next one. And for me, the key operational structure and winning model is neither central or local. It's the combination of both, okay? Central should operate as the strategy, structure, governance, and expertise, and the local teams are really to support on the last mile execution to apply the market nuance and optimize based on the market level insights, okay? So the key here is having global consistency and local relevance. So please do not just go all into central because you need the different local nuances across the markets. And now part two, which is okay, well, how does this actually all look like? What's the actual structure behind? From my expertise, every brand should have this holistic system built on 4 core pillars. There can be some nuances, but this is what I believe is the core of a holistic, scalable system. And I start by the first pillar, which is product and data. And in my eyes, this is by far the most underestimated pillar of the holistic system, and the one that also contributes the most to the ability for a brand to scale in retail media. Okay, so in this pillar, we have a central product information management system. It is paramount that brands really put in the effort to build a proper system that can hold all of your data, the specifications, dimensions, photos, every single content piece needs to be held there. I'm going to jump golden record a little last. The next part is that you have a clear data structure that can allow for mapping and automation, especially when you're going to work with partners. At least I would recommend, because one should outsource the things that we're not so good at. It is important that the data structure is there. And an example of that is, for example, having a clear hierarchy. So when you launch a new product, it fits into the hierarchy, and then you can create, for example, automation based on the hierarchy to launch the product on Amazon under the product type and load already the golden record, which is my next point. And the golden record here is, for you guys, may sound perhaps a little bit unclear if you've never heard of this term, but golden record is what I would say is the master list of specifications that can fulfill and launch a product in any retailer in Europe. So what you do is you grab all of the retailers' setup sheets across every category, or even subcategory, and then you create a golden record of what is the final summarized list that fits all the requirements across the retail. And once you have this golden record in place, you literally know that, okay, when a new product comes in and is launched, factory, usually the factory will prepare the specifications and bring them into the PIM, and you have all the data necessary to launch the product into, or let's say the master part of the data necessary to launch the product across all the retailers that you work with. Okay. Second pillar, which is one that is very apparent but also very important, is content. And in content, I think, look, the focus is really having clear value communication. Images, especially, I think, are a very strong suit that brands should really focus on. So title and images. And then if you have products that are above 200 euros ASP, I think A+ premium is really where A+ premium starts to play a role. For products below 100, 200, it really does not add that much value. The goal also of content is that it's conversion-focused design and that you continuously A/B test. Okay, and this is really where you can start to use AI to also ideate and design hypotheses of what we want to test on your content. Okay. Then we move on to distribution, and again, this is where working with partners is really important, and we'll go into that in the next slide. So being able to distribute your content and your specifications and launch the products, here's where you should also try to automate and use API, syndication, and also now starting some individual applications of AI that can really also leverage that. So this is what I would recommend. I would let's say, not really suggest going into manually uploading stuff on Amazon or on MediaMarkt or on, I don't know, Galaxus. So really try to find systems that allow you to scale and be efficient with the distribution part. The next point is control. And this is also quite important. I've seen this a lot at Amazon, where, for example, the content that is live on Amazon is not the content that I, as a brand, submitted. So my trusted source is not the same. So you should also sort of put this into place. And then consistency across markets is really important. Make sure your brand look and feel is really, really strong, and even across different regions that it's present. Okay. And then final part of the structure is the media. Okay, realizing retail media is now about full funnel, as I've said before. Make sure you're using audiences to really optimize your strategy and the way you sort of shift and adjust the different campaigns. And most importantly is about optimization, and really about making sure that you challenge your existing framework with the optimization and not just sort of try to validate what you already believe in that works for ads. Okay, this is really important for those again that have worked already with Amazon, and maybe you are already quite a bit advanced with ads. AMC, which is the Amazon Marketing Cloud, is really this clean room that enables you to really go a level deeper and understand, okay, if I remove this piece of my ads, of my campaign, how does this impact the performance? And this is really what you should keep challenging on media in perpetuity. Okay, so that's pretty much actually what I've built at Panasonic over nearly a decade. So I think after this presentation, one can get a bit overwhelmed also with a lot of opportunities. You see maybe some ideas here where you can, let's say, leverage some of this information into your business. But I would say to always focus on the things that drive the most immediate value to your business, okay? And especially the ones that you can build long-term. This is what I would suggest. So don't try to get now into everything and try to fix everything that's happening. Focus first on the things that drive the most value long-term. All right, so this operational structure is all very nice and good, but this only works when two things are in place. The first thing is all teams need to be aligned, okay? This is a system. If any of these pieces of the puzzle fail, the whole system goes down. And I've seen that a lot at Panasonic as well, where, for example, we have this huge launch, everything is ready, all the pricing, the content we've prepared in advance, the promotional roadmap, and the media plan, the campaign structure. And then we were just not informed that inventory actually had a huge delay. And then everything stalls. And we have to reiterate everything again. So please make sure, and I know this is hard, this is not an easy thing to do, especially across the large brands, but try to make sure that all teams are aligned and that the whole system is working. And the step number 2 is you need reliability at scale. And to be fair, I think you need to work with strong partners that can enable your brand to connect, going back to the part of the distribution and the sort of the content management, that allow you to connect with these marketplaces efficiently at scale, and make sure that all the processes from launching a product to creating galleries and deploying them and A+ premium and whatnot, and also on the advertising side, that all of that works, okay? So that's pretty much those 3 important slides. And now I also want to give you a little bit of proof, because you might say, okay, sure, that's all very nice, but how can we actually trust that that has any value? And I think that comes from the proof of what I've done at Panasonic. So you have 28 market scale, and my biggest achievement of them all is actually 90% in workload reduced. And this is actually talking about actual hours of people in local teams and central teams that were removed, and that could then be utilized for things that add a lot more value, like strategizing and building projects. So this actually equated to roughly, sorry, I don't want to maybe say the figure because it might be a bit confidential, but multiple millions of euros in savings for the company, right? From the workload reduction from when I started more than 8 years ago to this year. And then also in terms of media efficiency, looking back when we were decentralized to now, is a strong media efficiency that was driven based on that. This is a TACOS, which is maybe a metric I think some of you, or even most of you, might be familiar, which is total advertising cost of sale, which really represents, how much your advertising is costing in terms of your total picture of the turnover. Okay, and here's where a lot of the big efficiencies and actually return on investment came from. So the impact here is really not just performance, it's scale and efficiency. Okay, and just before we come into the final slides to conclude, I want to give a little bit of space also to content, just a little bit into more detail, and because I think it really matters. And I think where content really works well is where when you can answer the customer's questions immediately, communicate value clearly and remove friction from decision. And for that, you really need to have benefit-driven product messaging that is also easy to digest. I know sometimes a lot of partners that we work with tell us to also focus on, high search frequency keywords. But be careful with that, because I think the priority should always be the customer and the way they perceive the content, rather than just trying to optimize at the very tail end for every single high search frequency keyword to rank higher. So I would always focus on the way the content is displayed and interpreted by the customer. Then again, on the PDP, focus, title, gallery, bullet points. These are by far the ones that are most important, especially on mobile. Gallery plays a huge role, especially in terms of the real estate that it occupies. Review your social videos, I think, are key to eliminate last step friction. And this, you guys can speak more with Leia and the team of Expeerly, because they are pros at this stuff. And then also what I said earlier, continuous tests, okay? Use AI to support on drafting new A/B test ideation, okay? And really the strong takeaway here that I think is really important is that better content equals better conversion and better media efficiency, okay? Many brands, what happens is they make content and then they go straight to ads, and then the ads are not working, and they say, oh, maybe something with my campaign settings is not working, I have to optimize. But most of the times is the content that is not optimized, and that's leading ads to fail. Okay. All right, the final takeaways, and I'm not sure, I think maybe I'm just slightly running over time, but 3 things to remember that I think are really important is retail media is no longer just a channel, it's a full funnel system, sorry. Point number 2 is, I think fragmentation is by far the biggest barrier for brands. And if you want to be able to scale, you need to remove fragmentation from your business. And point 3, for me, the most important, structure. This is the key by far that enable long-term growth for any brand. Okay. So my final slide, closing, I just want to leave you with a closing sentence. Retail media is not really scaling because you do more ads or you add more tools. It really scales when the structure behind it works, which I hope I've been able to show you during this roughly 20 or so minute presentation. And yeah, I also do not want to leave you guys holding back, and I'm happy to continue the conversation. If you guys want to connect on LinkedIn, I'm actually open to continuing conversing on the topic, either online or in person. And I actually, as Leia also, I think, hinted at, I recently moved to the greater Zurich area, and I'm quite interested also to hear how different brands are approaching this space, because this is my take on retail media and what matters for brands. But I'm happy to hear what you guys are also doing out there, and always very keen on learning. So please do not hesitate to reach out. And yeah, I think that's it for the presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alex. Yeah, it's always when you do a virtual event, no one can really clap because everyone's on mute, but I will, and there's a lot of virtual clapping. So thank you so much, Alex. That was really insightful. Thank you so much. We were thinking of doing a fireside chat, but actually I would skip the fireside chat thing completely and open for questions, because I think we have another 10-15 minutes for questions, and I'd love to use that. I'm happy to kick us off with maybe a bit of a more controversial question, and I'm just interested in your take, Alex, and then I'd love to open to everyone else. And what I do want to start with, Alex, and this might be a very kind of small market, small retailer problem, but still many of the people in the call work with smaller retailers, so I do want to address this. So what I've heard brands say when we talk about retail media is that they basically say, well, we could invest additionally in retail media with our retailers, but we already do give them a percentage of revenue for whatever marketing activities. And generally those are really kind of boring, and there's yet another flyer and there's yet another that. There's almost no analytics on what we're already paying for. Why would we go in and invest even more on something else if already the money that we're sharing through WKZ or whatever else format isn't very exciting to us in the first place? Now, again, Amazon and other retailers have built out really great programs, but what's your take? What would be your take on a statement like that?
So you mean from a perspective of, okay, brands, especially in Switzerland, that work with smaller retailers? And
it's not only Switzerland, but yes, I mean, we have retailers in Switzerland that are just building out retail media systems. They might not have much yet, but already kind of revenue percentage given to the retailers in the first place isn't easily trackable or successful.
Yeah, I think that's, first of all, a real challenge for retailers and also especially brands. Well, first of all, I would say that retailers, maybe I think there's maybe one or two in this call, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's also their duty to try to step up a little bit of their ability to be able to give clarity and clear metrics and reports back to the brands, because otherwise, and this is also what happened mostly at Panasonic, we're working with 1 or 2, 3 retailers like really heavily, where we're investing strongly, like Amazon, where we can actually get proper data reports, analyze and optimize. And those retailers that are maybe at a sort of at a starting level or don't have the same scale or scope or even ability to report, we have to deploy different approaches, and it relies more on organic. We do, of course, still syndicate our content to them, but it's a mutual effort, I think, at the end of the day, from the brands and the retailers. And I also would feel the same way. I mean, if a retailer is not giving us the clarity that we need, then I mean, I would say to try to find different ways. And there's actually companies out there. I'll give you guys the name of one of them, which is Criteo. Maybe some of you guys have heard of them for sure, which really enables also brands and retailers to have sort of a starting platform for programmatic ads. And really that can also then be utilized in terms of getting better reporting and better clarity on the money that you're investing.
Thank you, Alex.
That's my take on it.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll open up for questions. I don't think you have to raise your hand or put it in the chat. We're a small enough group. So please just go ahead and ask if there's anything you'd like to know.
I have actually 2 questions. The first one would be the agency structure or in-housing. So as you are were responsible for so many countries, did you have a clear agency structure on EMEA level and also on the countries, or did you in-house specialists?
So at Panasonic, mostly we outsourced. I mean, at least I'm a strong believer that we should outsource what we're not good at. I mean, if you want to try to build a retail content management in-house solution, you can, but probably it's going to take you a lot of time. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to spend a lot more money than hiring someone else. And I think strong partners are really key and important. And at Panasonic, we do have an EMEA structure. We work with partners that operate and support us across all of Europe.
Oh, interesting. And the second one would be geo is one of our biggest topics this year. So how can we find a strategy? How can we build up retail media in regard of geo? Did you also have a look into it, or how did you structure geo in your retail media landscape?
Well, at the time, now that I left Panasonic, actually just 2 months ago, this topic of geo for sure came up, and it's something that we are starting to explore, but we haven't done anything so concrete that I can tell you. So the only maybe concrete thing I can say is about Rufus, and that's what we're looking to try to get also from Amazon. And I think this is something that you can ask your retail partners. I think actually probably only Amazon actually has a native AI built in. Try to get a little bit more data and knowledge out of Rufus. And I think in general, if you want to do proper geo, this really sits outside of the retail scope, the retail media scope, and the retail media function as a whole. I think this really comes down from a brand perspective to really make sure that you will have, for example, a clear brand website that can communicate to AI clearly, okay, what is the product and what's the pain point that is solved. Also try to make sure that you communicate the product in terms of its use cases for traveling or for, I don't know, going for a hike or whatever. So, but this starts to kind of drift away more towards the branding side and the brand website and all of the social media activation, social proof. So it's a bit different segment, but there is still definitely things you can do on the retail media side.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like we need to do a Geo event, Kira. Thank you very much. I think it's top of everyone's mind at the moment.
Yeah, and I agree that of course it's branding and also the website, but if you have a look what kind of sources you have the sources from Amazon, from MediaMarkt, etc. So you really need to find out what kind of investments, and also Lea, you are talking about BKZ. So it's like a nice to have a flyer, but are we able to discuss it to have a proper geo strategy with all kind of stakeholders? So I have the feeling that today everybody's talking about, but nobody has a really clear answer. So of course it needs time, but yeah, we need to form the future and to find out, okay, what kind of new ways do we need? So for us, it's a huge topic. Yeah.
Maybe I can leave you guys with an actual insight that you can use. The one thing that I've realized for Geo especially, and what works well in terms of, because AI also indexes and learns when it's structured and clear, the communication from the brand. And one of the things that you can deploy that works really well to improve Geo is an FAQ. Because it's a very clear system of question, answer. And this really enables AI to index properly and also then report back to the shopper that is searching for a product in that same format. So if there's something at least that I can leave you with of tangible value, I think it would be definitely have an FAQ on the retailers. And Amazon even has a section on A+ Premium for FAQ. Not the longest one, but it's there.
Maybe one other stat there, Kira, just to quickly share that. I mean, what we know of Geo now is that 80% of the sources that are taken into account when you look for a product on agentic search is third-party data. So they're not gonna take your. That's why etc. is listed as a source, because they're actually not taking your direct-to-consumer sites. They specifically look for third-party sites with information, be that retailers or be it review sites or anything else. And what we've seen, I think the reason why we believe, and it's so funny that we don't actually know, but the reason why we believe we list so highly at the moment on Geo is because we talk in a human language. So it's almost like the FAQ that Alex mentioned, but it's like we tend to talk about products in very technical specifications versus actual use cases. And in Geo, people actually ask for specific use cases. They say, what laptop is right for my home office that looks exactly like that. So they're much more talking use cases. And I think that's the other thing that sometimes gets neglected, is the human language in all of this. But again, Kira, thank you. We will do a Geo event. That's my takeaway out of this.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's not just like the structure of the PDPs, etc., but it's like the reviews, and it's not only PR. It's you and us, it's me, who are writing a review, who are uploading a video. So I'm really curious to find out if we could have like a test or a setup, how we can find out what really is a key part to be on a Geo source. It's a huge topic, yeah. But to the rest. What are your questions?
And if someone in this group feels like they're the expert on it, please do reach out to me, because then we're gonna bring you in as a speaker right away. Are there other questions to Alex?
I have another question. First of all, thanks so much for the super nice and interesting presentation. When you were talking about the 90% of workload you could reduce, what were the main affected departments and what were the main tasks you could automate?
So the major tasks that we could automate was really product launches. This was really what was taking the local teams the majority of the time, really to go through every single retailer and type those Excel sheets with sometimes hundreds of columns. So that was the biggest one that we could automate. The most teams affected actually were the local teams, both product marketing and marcoms, so marketing communication, and because they're also doing A+ Premium and so on. And that's the real workload efficiency. But then also from an ads perspective, that's where we also gathered a lot of efficiency in terms of how we make each euro return us more value and more business than before. But I think your question was more on the workload reduction. Yes.
Very interesting. Thanks.
Any more questions that I can?
I think we have time for like one more or so. Okay.
I also would have a question. So you talked about A/B testing. I know on Amazon, the team that is responsible in our company for that is using that quite a lot. But for example, marketplaces that don't have this function to really compare a group of people seeing this and another group of people seeing that, is there a solution that works for other platforms? Did you get my question?
It's frozen.
Did we lose Alex in the way? I think we might have lost Alex.
But I have maybe I have a solution. What we did in the past, we made a test with cookie statement. So if you accept the cookies or you don't accept the cookies, then the ad will be shown to all the people who accept the cookies. So that might be a solution, because if there is no possibility to check or to find out, okay, what is really an A/B testing possibility on Amazon. So for most of the retailers, it's not possible. So we try to find more insights, cookie versus non-accepting cookies.
Okay, interesting.
Sorry, guys, can you hear me again?
Yes, we can hear you again.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm not sure what happened. My laptop literally just gave up, and and my internet crashed on the laptop. I'm not sure why. Apologies for that.
Did you hear the question, Alex, from Robert?
I did hear the question. Sorry, from who was it? Sorry.
From Robert.
From Robert. Yes. Sorry. Can you repeat it again? I sorry. It's better if you repeat. Sorry.
Yeah, I asked if you also have possibilities. For example, on Amazon, the team is doing A/B tests quite well because it's very accessible there, and for other platforms where it's not an option, if you have a solution for that. Kira already said option with cookies, but do you maybe also have another one?
Well, to my knowledge, yes, Amazon is right now the best place to A/B test your content. And I think it's actually probably the place that you should focus on A/B testing content, because if the content is working well on Amazon, it's very likely that it'll also work well on the other retailers. So I would say focus on just A/B testing on Amazon. You have a lot of traffic there that can validate your A/B tests. And yeah, I don't know of any platform or tool that could help you A/B test on other smaller retailers.
Okay, understood.
So I'll throw in one more, Robert. I'm saying that for all the people that work with us as clients, you have through Expeerly access to all the view numbers of your content on all the different retailers that we're integrating with, which actually does help you if you look into this data to understand what the traffic situation on your PDP looks like if your retailer doesn't offer you that otherwise. So it's kind of a tweak to get into that data, because you otherwise don't get it from the retailers, but we do get it through the YouTube Data Studio, and you get it on our platform. I'm going to close questions because, again, Swiss, and we want to end on time. Just going back quickly to the initial presentation. I copied this out. Thank you very much, Alex, for highlighting content and how important it is. It is really important. Therefore, given that Alex said content is the biggest conversion lever, if you don't already work with us, Fipu said that he's going to chase you down at the very beginning of this call. He will, but if he already does, then please make sure that you ask him for the free review assessment that we do, because we will look into your content and give you kind of a sense of what's working and what's not. So please do reach out to Fipu, or he will reach out to you for that. Secondly, again, I said at the very beginning, we do these events so people connect, and I mean that. I have added, Alex, your QR code again here, but also we will share the participant list and the updated participant list, because certain things have changed since I said that beginning of the week. And I will share that again with really the ask to all of you to use this platform to really network. So do reach out to each other, to stay in touch, add each other on LinkedIn. I believe in the value of community a lot, and I do want to make sure that we facilitate that. And if you need, for whatever reason, in 3 months you need to talk to someone at another company, always reach out to us. So we're happy to facilitate that in any way possible. And then lastly, you should also all meet in person in Zurich. We have our annual e-commerce forum in Zurich on Friday 25th in Zurich, close to the airport. So it's also convenient for all of you to travel in. If you have not signed up yet, we will also send you a link to the event again after this event. It will be lots of value like what we just got from Alex, but throughout the whole day and in person. Thank you so much, Alex. Great to share your LinkedIn. That's a really good idea. And then lastly, just a big thank you for your time today. We will also send you a quick feedback form. That's not a feedback form on Alex. Alex did a great job, but really for us to learn what kind of events you want in the future. So thank you, Alex. Thank you for all of you for your time, and have a lovely afternoon. Enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thanks for the great
Bye.
event.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
See you soon.
Bye.